Welcome to our show. You're listening to Palm Beach Music Therapy Connections, a place to learn about and celebrate creative arts therapy. Each week, we'll explore new ways that music, art, and dance can reach, connect with, and help individuals of all stages of health and wellness. Hi, I'm Bree, Beynon, a board-certified music therapist and the managing partner for the Palm Beach Music Therapy Institute. Tune in as I interview professionals from healthcare and educational backgrounds on the impact of the creative arts. If you prefer to watch our live video stream, simply visit www.pbmti.com. Hello, thank you so much for joining us tonight. You're listening to and watching Palm Beach Music Therapy Connections. My name is Bree Beynon. I'll be your host tonight. I'm a board-certified music therapist and certified neurologic music therapist here locally with the Palm Beach Music Therapy Institute, providing private music therapy services to hospitals, facilities, senior care, living facilities, schools, community programs, meeting individuals where they're at. And a big part of that is recognizing, embracing, celebrating, and recognizing just the impact of music on the brain. So we've been celebrating that all month as it is National Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month. We've heard from people, volunteers and staff from the Alzheimer's Association talking about some events that they have coming up. As a reminder, if you are interested in learning more about that or getting involved in your local walk, you can check out els.org/walk. We have local walks here coming up this fall from September to November, I believe, in Miami, Hollywood for Broward, Boca, West Palm Beach, and the Treasure Coast. We have an event coming up for our West Palm Beach walk this Friday. We have a kickoff party at downtown at the Gardens. Music will be provided by yours truly and other music therapists in the area. I'm going to be a fashion show, some different booths around from local community members, and just a fun way to kick off walk season, come together, sign up your team if you haven't done that yet, just kind of get excited about raising money to raise awareness and funds for research to fight this disease that affects so many of us. I'm sure there's not too many people listening or watching tonight who has not been affected by this in some way, either personally or professionally. So check that out. That is going to be starting at 6 o'clock on Friday at downtown at the Gardens. And it's a free event, a kickoff to the West Palm Beach Walk to End Alzheimer's. I started to mention last week also another event that we have going on is a response to the tragedy that happened in Orlando over a week ago. Music therapists from around the state of Florida are going to be gathering in song for a benefit concert this coming Saturday at 7:30 p.m. in Orlando at the Christ Church Unity. And we've got about 10 musicians and music therapists coming from South Florida. We're going to be caravanning up together. Music therapists coming from Tampa, the Orlando area, all over the state. I think we've got 15 acts prepared with different popular and Broadway songs, all with a message of pride, of peace, of love. A suggested minimum donation of $10 to the door, and all that money will go to Equality Florida, which is directly helping victims and family members of the tragedy that occurred. So just something we can do to do our part to bring a little joy, bring a little solitude, and also recognize and honor the sadness of what has occurred in that community. And what better way to do that than through song? So again, that's next Saturday at 7:30 at Christ Church Unity in Orlando. If you have any other questions about that, you want to be involved in any way, or you'd like to donate in any way, please feel free to reach out to me directly, Bree, B-R-E-E, at pbmti.com. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you will have for that. So we've been talking about Brain and Alzheimer's Awareness Month, and we've been talking a lot about the effect of music on the brain that has suffered some kind of injury or accident or neurodegenerative disease. But we haven't as much focused on the well brain, on the healthy brain, on how music affects us in everyday life. We know it does. We see the effect of it all the time, but do we really know why it has such an impact on us? So I want to share just some interesting things that I found online, research about why music affects us the way it does. And I thought this was really neat. This is a little chart that I found called Music on the Mind. It says when we listen to music, it's processed in many areas of the brain. I think I've shared before, it's really the only stimulus we process that lights up the whole brain. The extent of the brain's involvement was scarcely imagined until the early 90s when functional brain imaging became possible. The major computational centers include, and this is going to get a little science-y, but if you've listened before, you know that I'm kind of nerdy in that way. So I love this stuff. The corpus callosum connects the left and right hemispheres. This is huge. We talk a lot about how music helps speech production and also taps into those memories, taps into those emotions. How can it do all of that? And because it's connecting both sides of the brain, our emotion centers, our speech centers, all together. The sensory cortex, tactile feedback from playing an instrument or dancing. The motor cortex affects movement, foot tapping, dancing, playing an instrument. We're going to talk a lot about those physical responses with our guest later. Auditory cortex, the first stages of listening to sounds, the perception and analysis of tones. The hippocampus plays a role in a memory for music, our musical experiences and context. So you hear that those musical memories we talk about a lot, that they're strongest. If it is an affected brain, those memories are strongest from their late 20s, early 30s. The visual cortex, reading music, is involved here, looking at a performer or one's own movements. Kind of part of that mindfulness that we've been talking about, having to be truly mindful when you're appreciating music, especially when you're watching a performance live and you are taking all of that in. You're forced to be in that moment. You're not sure where the music is going to go or what the performer is going to do. That's visual cortex plays a big role in that. Our cerebellum, movement such as foot tapping again, dancing and playing an instrument, also involved in our emotional responses to music. We can see that every day. Our emotional responses, music that we know is going to pump us up, get us motivated, put us in a good mood, and music that is a little more somber. And something that's somber to us may not be to someone else. So it's our own personal emotions that are involved in that as well. A really simple example of this is try to watch any classic movie scene without the sound on. It's not going to be the same. We're not going to have that emotional response because the music is missing. Your amygdala, also involved in the emotional reactions to music. The nucleus accumbens, I apologize, emotional response to music. Our prefrontal cortex, the creation of expectations, violation and satisfaction of expectations. Again, that mindfulness, what expectations are we maybe setting for that music? We're forced to be in that moment. I know I bring that up and I've brought it up every time since I've had the guests come on and speak about mindfulness in music, but it just blew my mind. I mean, figuratively, but I couldn't believe that. It's like, of course I can meditate. I've been such a skeptic. I do it all the time when I'm appreciating a new piece of music and I don't know how it's going to go. I think that's what draws us to appreciating live music so much. All right, I'm not going to read all the research here, but I just think it's pretty. Some of these things are interesting. This was interesting to me. Our music choices can predict our personality. Now, this blog says, take this one with a grain of salt because it's only been tested on young adults, but it's really interesting. I can't say that I agree with these findings personally, but I think it's interesting. So what they did is they asked for it's a sample size, what their type of music they preferred, and then how they would categorize their major personality traits. So they used 5 personality traits: openness to experience, extroversion, agreeableness, conscientiousness, and emotional stability. And here's what they found. And this is from a website called blog.bufferapp.com, where they've collected some research. Let's break it down. Here's the connection they found. I'm just going to read a couple of these. Blues fans have high self-esteem, are creative, outgoing, gentle, and at ease. Good news for you blues fans. Rap fans have high self-esteem and are outgoing. Country and Western fans are hardworking and outgoing. Reggae fans have high self-esteem, are creative, not hardworking, outgoing, gentle, and at ease. Indie fans, made me sad as an indie fan, have low self-esteem, are creative, but not hardworking and not gentle. I don't agree with that, indie fans. Rock and heavy metal fans have low self-esteem, are creative, not hardworking, not outgoing, gentle, and at ease. Again, grain of salt. I didn't write this. I don't agree with it. Soul fans have high self-esteem, are creative, outgoing, gentle, and at ease. Chart pop fans have high self-esteem, are hardworking, outgoing, and gentle, but are not creative and not at ease. I don't know. Ooh, Bollywood, for all you Bollywood fans, are creative and outgoing. You guys are doing great. I just thought that was interesting. Music can significantly distract us while driving, contrary to common belief. I get that. I mean, I love I can't not have music to get me from point A to point B, but how many times have you been like looking for a street and you have to turn the radio way down? Yeah. Yep. I can understand that. Music training can significantly improve our motor and reasoning skills. We hear that a lot as more research is coming out. Certainly there's been a lot of things recently telling us why not to cut music and art out of the schools. I can't even believe we have to say that, honestly. I teach guitar and voice lessons outside of my regular job and have for years. And it saddened me when I realized that my students would say either they don't have a music program or they're like, I'm so lucky my school has a choir. That shouldn't be something that's I'm so lucky my school has this. This should be a staple, a standard. So more and more research is coming out to show these benefits for kids and for adults too. This is not just something that affects us in our youth. We carry it with us all our life, which is what we're going to talk about at length in a couple different respects with our guest today. Harry Getzoff is here. He is going to be talking to us about his life connections to music through his father's profession in music, his career in the music industry, and what he's doing now to share this passion with our community, which is going to be great. We're going to have some fun at the end. We have a giveaway of one of his books for some songwriter trivia, so stick around for that. Before we get into the interview and go to our first break, I do want to offer our little weekly sing-along here, as this week marked the official start to summer. Monday was first day of summer, the longest day of the year, so I've been doing a lot of summer-themed sessions with my seniors this week, and obviously I can't do a summer-themed session without doing a little Summertime by Gershwin from Porgy and Bess. Summertime, and the living is easy. Fish are jumping, and the cotton is high. Oh, your daddy's rich, and your mama's good looking. So hush, little baby, don't you cry. 'Cause one of these mornings you're gonna rise up singing. Then you'll spread your wings and you'll take to the sky. Till that morning, there's nothing can harm you. With mommy and daddy standing by. With mommy and daddy standing by. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We're glad you're here. After a quick commercial break, we're going to come back with today's guest, Harry Getzoff. Stick around.
Mom's fall was a wake-up call. We knew she needed help, but we also knew she'd never leave her home.
With jobs and kids, we can't always be there. We weren't sure who to trust to help around the house and make sure she takes her medications.
We did our research and found our answer. Bright Star Care. Their home care teams are led by registered nurses, with help available 24/7.
Thanks to Bright Star Care, Mom can stay where she wants to be, at home.
For a standard of care that raises the bar, call 844 for Bright Star.
The Palm Beach Music Therapy Institute is a professional music therapy practice serving medical, community, and educational settings throughout Southeast Florida. With our experienced team of 11 board-certified music therapists, we use music and research-based therapeutic interventions to help individuals of all ages and abilities reach their goals and increase their quality of life. For more information on our services and programs, please visit our website at pbmti.com. Engage with us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, or call us at 561-747-9944. You are listening to Palm Beach Music Therapy Connections. If you'd like to join the conversation, the toll-free number is 888-565-1470. Now back to the show. Hello, thank you so much for joining us tonight. You're listening to and watching Palm Beach Music Therapy Connections. I'm your host, Bree Beynon, and I'm here with my guest tonight, Harry Getzoff. Thank you so much for being here, Harry.
It's a pleasure. I loved hearing you sing just now. Are you kidding?
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. No, I know. And is that the first time you've heard me sing? We talk about
in
music.
the hallway before.
Oh,
but,
right. Because we talk about music all the time. Every time we get together, it was a natural connection. And I think that meeting in one of our networking groups and knowing the music connection was very exciting. When you meet another musician or a music lover, it's an instant connection.
Well, now I want your autograph when we're done. So,
Well, we'll have to chat about that later.
All right.
So you have a million things to talk about today because you have such a history rich with music. You grew up in a home and have carried it through your life in different ways. So let's just kind of go back to the beginning of how you were introduced to this world.
I was born into a house of music. I mean, it really was. My father was an amazing songwriter and performer. He really was. My father, in brief, wrote songs for Johnny Ray, Frank Sinatra, Keely Smith, a million people, Doris Day, Bing Crosby. His biggest song was a song some of your listeners may know, Please Mr. Sun by Johnny Ray. It was a huge hit. But my brother is a singer-songwriter now. I play piano and sing, but I know my limits. My sister, we talked about, it's how we first met, was actually one of the first. She was in the University of Miami music therapy program early on. And my mom, she was very quietly in the background, has an amazing singing voice. I mean, beautiful singing voice. So that's the way, I grew up always having music played in the house all the time. I was lucky.
So what was the exposure like? I'm sure you just met a lot of interesting people, heard a lot of stories, and that just affected you from a young age.
I mean, I lived in Springfield, Massachusetts. My parents were both from New York, but they moved up to, I mean, it's a long story. We don't have time to talk about it today. My father actually bailed on the music business because he didn't write rock and roll. He was never going to be in that. He wrote ballads. And now when we'll talk about the music songwriter programs I do, a lot of the writers, Tin Pan Alley type writers, really were on the downside. They couldn't adjust to that change that was happening. My dad went up to Springfield, was in the corrugated box business, which I could have been the corrugated box king of the world, and I thank God that didn't happen. But pretty much the seed was planted with all of us. I listened to music my whole life. I didn't practice piano when I was young, but then when Captain and Tennille, Love Will Keep Us Together, I went over to the piano. I just started playing it one day, and I played Billy Joel by ear and Elton John by ear. So it started blossoming again. And then I didn't study. I did take music theory in college. I was very good at it, which I won't say. How do I say peed off? Got them angry. The other music majors at the School for Fine Arts at BU were bummed that I could do intervals training so well and
I would have
counterpoint
hated you.
Dictation.
Yeah.
I always got that stuff right.
Yeah, no, that's terrible.
And all of the intense music majors were like, and I was just a liberal arts guy. So I was always around it. It's just
We're very passionate about that.
Passionate. Well, you and competitive. I didn't
Yes.
realize with juries in there.
Oh,
they talk
yeah.
about pre-med, fine arts students. But it's interesting when, we talk a little more about it, how I have circled back now. It's no accident. And my father passed away 6 years ago. The idea that he's on my shoulder, sometimes literally on the PowerPoints, I see his picture up there. It's emotional for me because he would love what I'm doing right now. Totally so.
And I know we're going to get more into that in a minute, and what you are doing now, and how life kind of it's woven in and out. But I just, as you're talking, reminded me I was setting up for a group today, and cancer support group, music therapy based group that I was doing, and The View was on or something like that. And every host in The View was talking about, how did you get to where you are right now? How'd you get in this chair? And Whoopi Goldberg was like, no one ever told me I couldn't.
Great point.
Everybody had this story. I got to prove this person wrong. And she's like, no one ever told me I couldn't do it.
That's beautiful.
And I just love it. And it just kind of speaks to your point of like, well, that's just how it was in your house,
Right.
You just do what you love. And I feel the same way. So how lucky are we?
Yeah.
know?
That's wonderfully put, actually.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. So, from that musical background, and you said not terribly formalized, but just always interest. But again, not only the natural approach to music theory, but being able to play piano by ear. That's not even.
Yeah, I'm
that's
lucky.
Not fair.
I play piano. Well, I play piano to sing. And you and I talked about it. I want your help because as I'm getting older, I need to do vocal exercises, even when I do public speaking. But what I notice when I sit down and play, I sing, and I like to accompany myself. So it's just, that's my music therapy. It absolutely, when I was in law school, which we'll maybe talk about, first year of law school is not fun. Maybe some people have fun. I didn't. It really was the paper chase. And 10 minutes out of every hour, I would turn around to my keyboard, which was a Fender Rhodes at the time, and I would play 10 minutes of music, and then I'd go back to studying, and it saved me.
Yeah, absolutely. And just going back to some of that research we were talking about, when you're talking about singing, reading music, coordinating the movements to play piano, everything that's involved in that, it makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like a happy brain workout.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So what led you into, and obviously you just mentioned about law school, so how was that transition, getting into law and keeping that passion with you? Where did that take you?
I'm not even shy about saying this. I once spoke on the phone with Billy Joel for 3 hours when I was in college. I wanted to be his manager. That was my carrot in a lot of ways. I never wanted to be Perry Mason, but and I talk about this with a lot of the great songwriters like Dorothy Fields and Cole Porter. And last night, who did I do the other night? I don't even remember who it was, but so many of their parents did not want their children to go into show business for reasons. Obvious. They wanted some stability for their children. And my father, the same thing. So my way of doing it was to be a lawyer in the music business. It was a marriage of two worlds for me. And the only reason I went to law school, I went to Emory, which was a great school, was to be an entertainment lawyer. And then I ended up working in show business in New York. So I was able to have my cake and eat it too, in a way. The issue for me was by the time I got into the music business, the music that I really loved, and I loved pop music, and according to the research you gave me,
horrible.
I told Bree I'm ready to jump out the window.
It's
Because
terrible.
my self-esteem is low, and it's not.
Like I said, I've never wanted to be a country music fan before, and now I just want to be hardworking and laid back.
We'll have to find another study that supports what we wanted to support.
Exactly.
But I really didn't love the music anymore. The underpinnings were gone. And even though I learned contracts and copyright and all intellectual property, and I lucked in, the audience members, people who are listening who know of this group are going to die laughing. I fell into a comedy act, the Jerky Boys. I became their manager, and they made all their prank calls out of my apartment. And I did very, very well in the music business, but as a comedy manager, personal manager. It was a far cry from Billy Joel and the music that I loved. So I ended up, doing it for a long time. I'm still technically licensed in New York and Massachusetts, but because if I could have managed a solo artist, never a rock band, I never could have done that. It would have freaked me out. I would have been so happy, but it just didn't happen. And the music's really changed for me, so.
Why do you say a rock band would have?
Because I have friends who manage rock bands, 5 distinct personalities, 6, can you imagine?
Yeah.
The ego battles going on. If you ever saw the movie Almost Famous, which is one of my favorite, I wanted to be that kid in that movie. And as my friends say, Harry, you only missed the music business by 3 decades, because the 60s would have been my decade. But it was a wonderful experience, and I learned the business, and I still help people out with songwriter agreements and publishing agreements. And I was always pro-artist, even though I worked for a record label for years. But again, music found its way into my life, and that was the way I could do it.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, absolutely. How'd you get down here?
All right, so this is it. I feel like, so what happened was, we were just talking about this, 9/11 happened, and I had gone through divorce, and it was just time for change, and I wasn't happy in the music business anymore. I ended up going out on the road. What happened was, and this is the segue to senior citizens, don't ask me how this happened, except for the fact I lived on 87th and Central Park West. There's a coffee shop on 86th and Columbus, which is now a Starbucks, of course. And I'd go in every morning and have my egg sandwich with a cup of coffee, and there were 1 or 2 or 3 seniors. And we'd talk about the Mets, about the Yankees, about the world. And then I started talking with them, and they talked to me. And then one thing led to another. I developed a set of questions. And then I came up with this name, Eldercation, which was supposed to be something completely different than what it is now. And I trademarked it because I learned that in law school. And I ended up leaving New York and traveling around the country to 32 states, driving around a year, and interviewed over 3,000 seniors that year, and some very famous people. I spent a day with Maya Angelou. I spent a day with Louise Hay. I didn't know I was going to write a book. That was not the plan. I just knew I wanted to ask older people about their life lessons, and I really didn't know. You talk about taking a leap. That was a leap for me at that point, but it felt right.
What are some examples of some of the questions that you might ask?
Well, my favorite one is if you're standing in front of a room full of young people, what would be a kernel of wisdom that you could pass along to them? It's not so scientific, but it's not so much the lesson, it's the follow-up. You know this whenever you interview people. So someone will say, this is the lesson I learned. And I'll say, how did you learn that? What's the story behind you learning that? And I videotaped everything that I was doing on the road, because I learned, actually, a very smart woman, Yalia, who's since passed, told me, you're crazy not to be videotaping. It was helpful because when I would transcribe the interviews, I could see the gestures, and I have a bank of these unbelievable video clips now, and I will sometimes watch these clips, and even though these people are gone, it's like I'm with them again, which indirectly led to this side project that I now do called My Long Story Short, where people hire me to do these interviews, and it's a joy of my life. But no, I did that, and then I ended up writing this book, Gold. I'm looking at it. It doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, Ruth Westheimer wrote a quote. Marianne Williamson wrote the introduction. I never intended to write a book, and this is what happened. And it's
directly out of the interviewing
right out of the
process.
interviews, because I had to figure out. At one point, I was traveling around the country. I ended up living in Kansas City for 3 years, because your original question was, how did I get down here? And my publisher, I had a publisher at that point, said, what are you doing with all these interviews? You can't just keep driving and interviewing. You got it. So I ended up writing the book there. And then my dad became ill, I should say. And my mom lives in Weston, and I came down to be with him. It was a wonderful end-of-life experience, actually. And I just wanted to be closer to family, so I stayed. And that's brought me to Florida, South Florida. I know. Did that make any sense just now?
Yes. As I'm receiving it, I'm just realizing, so I've gotten into watching some documentaries on Netflix and stuff, and I think it's so interesting that people are like, admit in their documentary, I had no idea what I was doing. I was just kind of going around filming this. This is something I was interested in, and this project that's bigger than you even realize it's going to be is just born out of that. It sounds like that's what happened here.
Yeah, I mean, I stumbled into people say, how did you get the interview with Maya Angelou? How did you interview Hugh Downs? I'm a big baseball fan. How did I spend an afternoon with Ernie Banks? He's a baseball player that I like. And because I asked them, and they believed. And it's kind of what happened with what was it, Alan Grayson's mom at the meeting the other day. I sent her a copy of the book. She sent me the most beautiful note back. Now, all I want is for Alan Grayson to go on Bill Maher and talk about my book.
There you go.
But I really don't. I mean, I say that, and as I'm saying it, you'll notice my name is not big on this. People have criticized me for that. But this book, the mission of Eldercation and my entire project is to inspire people to engage seniors on a more consistent basis and in a more meaningful way. I'm really bothered in our culture that seniors tend to be pushed aside. They don't tend to be revered. That's the purpose of my work, really. Now, it's blossomed into other things, but that is the core message. That's really what it's all about. And that's why I do this work. It's about them. It's not about me.
Gold, the extraordinary side of aging revealed through inspiring conversations.
That's the book.
Yeah, that's
It's
awesome.
the word for the people who can't see it, because they can't see it.
And those who are watching, you can hold it up for
Yeah,
them.
I mean,
yeah.
it's the word, I deal head on with the word old. Because if you look up the word old in the thesaurus, it's pretty amazing. And then what the rest of that is, there's a handwritten G in front of the word old, making it gold. It's taking something great out of. But I don't like it when people say the word old and they go, oh, if you look up the word old in the thesaurus, there are at least 50 words. Half of them are words like decrepit, over the hill, creaky, senile, which is a loaded term today for what happens, and a whole bunch of bad words. On the other side, fossil, that's one of my favorite ones. On the other side of the coin, you have practiced, revered, legendary, wise, solid, which is the total opposite of decrepit. So that's the side that I'm trying to get people to look at. I'm really trying to help us change the way we view aging in our culture. It's going to happen because baby boomers are not going to take growing old.
Have you
easily.
talked to or gone to see or looked up Dr. Bill Thomas
Oh, yeah.
at all?
Oh,
Okay,
he's great.
yeah.
He's
It's a lot
great.
of what you're saying.
Yeah.
Sounds really similar to what he teaches and shares. Before we cut to a commercial, I want to ask you, put you on the spot a little bit.
Right.
Of all the interviews you've done and those you standing in front of a room of people, what's your pearl of wisdom? What's something that's always stayed with you?
It's funny. Out of 3,000, you say, how does he? I talk in a lot of my speeches how every interview is. I remember every interview I've ever done. I remember every snack they served me, which is probably an eating disorder. This guy named Ralph Miller, this gentleman, I should say, in Springfield, Missouri. He's since passed. He was 91 when I interviewed him. Blind. And I asked him what's the most important thing. And he said, Harry. And he had a squeaky voice. He goes, I don't worry and I don't hurry. He goes, because worry is a complete waste of time and hurry will do nothing but get you hurt. And he said every accident he's ever gotten in, anything, happened because of his being in a hurry. I think about it all the time because I once smashed my teeth running around to get some keys out of my pocket and whatever. Every time I run and I might text, I don't do it when I drive, but if I even catch myself, Ralph Miller's in my head. And I think of him and what he said every single day. That's
a good
just one. That's a good one.
Don't
That's a good one.
worry, don't hurry.
That's it.
Simple.
Everyone out
Yeah.
there, I'm telling you, if you ever catch yourself in a hurry doing something, mindfulness, I heard you say it. Be mindful of everything that's happening at that point because God, I'm telling you, that will be when the accident occurs. You may bang your knee and open up a cut. You may get, God forbid, into a car accident. You're not mindful when you're rushing. There's no need. Anyway, that's my sermon for the day.
It's a good one. It's a good one. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk about how music got back into Harry's life. Stick around.
Mom's fall was a wake-up call. We knew she needed help, but we also knew she'd never leave her home.
With jobs and kids, we can't always be there. We weren't sure who to trust to help around the house and make sure she takes her medications.
We did our research and found our answer. Bright Star Care. Their home care teams are led by registered nurses, with help available 24/7.
Thanks to Bright Star Care, Mom can stay where she wants to be, at home.
For a standard of care that raises the bar, call 844 for Bright Star.
The Palm Beach Music Therapy Institute is a professional music therapy practice serving medical, community, and educational settings throughout Southeast Florida. With our experienced team of 11 board-certified music therapists, we use music and research-based therapeutic interventions to help individuals of all ages and abilities reach their goals and increase their quality of life. For more information on our services and programs, please visit our website at pbmti.com. Engage with us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, or call us at 561-747-9944. You are listening to Palm Beach Music Therapy Connections. If you'd like to join the conversation, the toll-free number is 888-565-1470. Now back to the show. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. You're listening to and watching Palm Beach Music Therapy Connections. I'm your host, Bree Beynon, here with my guest tonight, Harry Getzoff. Thank you again, Harry, for being here.
You're very welcome.
Before the break, we started to talk about your book. That was a kind of a surprise to you that just kind of unveiled itself to you as you went on this passion project, interviewing seniors and in an effort to promote them and promote their aging process and letting them know that you are not to make you feel valuable. You are valuable.
Right.
Here are the lessons that you can pass on. Just had Andrea Brennan on. Do you know Andrea?
I think I met her.
Yeah, she just opened I Matter Adult Day Center. Pardon me. And we just had the same conversation. It's not about the language of we're going to make you feel like you're contributing and you're valuable. You are. There's so much we can learn from the seniors, from our elder population. So I love this. I love this idea. Where can people buy your book?
The easiest place to buy it is on Amazon. If you go to Amazon and you just put in Gold and Getzov, Getzov,
Okay.
or The Extraordinary Side of Aging, you'll find it. And then also you can always go to the website. Can I give them the website?
Absolutely, please.
I don't want to break any rules here.
No.
www.eldercation.com. It's ELDERCATION.com. It's like education, but eldercation.
Oh, and see, this whole time I thought it was like a vacation. But
No, it's eldercation.
I did not get that. But either way.
Now
okay,
this is
great.
now you get it.
Now I get it.
And it was supposed to be something totally different. It's tapping into the greatest undiscovered natural resource. That's really what it is. That's what eldercation is all about. So
what does eldercation do? How does eldercation function outside of the book?
Well, the interviews, and I already mentioned My Long Story Short. That's also mylongstoryshort.com. They're related. It's the same logo and everything. But it's interesting because I don't know how to explain this except to say that it's developed on its own way. The interviews, my idea of tapping into this extraordinary resource and learning from seniors, that's the education component to this. But what's happened is, and I think this is where we're going, is as I would go around to senior communities and younger people too, and I would talk, and they kept saying, we really want you to come back. And they kept asking me to come back. And I was like a comedian with no material. I needed material. Like Jerry Seinfeld. We love him.
Yes.
And it's wonderful how this just fell on my lap because I started thinking, well, I love music, and I guess I'm always for the underdog. That just hit me as I'm talking with you. Older people, to me, I feel like I and people like Bill Thomas or people who are positive aging people want to lift up these people and make sure we notice who they are. I feel the same way about songwriters. It bugs me that people will know, like I played Misty the other night, which is one of my favorite songs of all time, and everyone knows Johnny Mathis is singing it, right? Or Nat King Cole is singing it. But no one knows the writer of Misty. His name is Errol Garner. A lot of people, not known as Cole Porter or Rodgers and Hammerstein. So I do these projects called Getting to Know the American Songwriter at all of these communities, and it's endless. I can do a different one every month. I put everything into a historical context because Tin Pan Alley did not happen by accident. It was a perfect storm of a confluence of technological advance in the late 1800s and the melting pot magic of this country. And then I do a different songwriter every month, and I do it with video and I do it with photos, and it leads right in to what you're all about because we've talked. This is how we've connected. I do these presentations. People come up to me at the end. Well, forget the end. While the project is on, I will see people singing. I will see people tapping their toes. I will see laughing. I will see joy manifested. And then at the end, they'll come up to me with tears in their eyes going, you don't know what you're doing for us, with the reminiscing and and one guy, I think I can say this on the radio. Of course, now you're freaked out probably. No, a guy came up to me after and he says, that song that you played today, that's the first time I ever made love to a woman was during that song. Well, that's big, and he really, wanted to tell me that. So it's come back into my life. It's really an amazing thing, and I love doing these programs. So it's called the Eldercation Experience with me because it is an experience, and I learn from them too.
Oh, absolutely.
Trust me.
Yeah.
It's not one way, so...
I think I was sharing with you beforehand that this week I've been kind of doing celebrating the longest day. So I asked people, okay, so if you had the unlimited hours, you could do anything you want. And we work in two different kinds of settings. You work more in independent
Independent living. And assisted living people
assisted
come in because they
living.
still are able to think and write. Yeah.
Absolutely. So some of the groups I'm doing are more with people with more memory disorders, but they have great answers to stuff. And I just ask everybody, you know, and have great answers like I'm going to spend time playing with dogs. Yes, I love it. I'm going to take my family on a vacation. I'm going to sleep, you know. I said, what about if we had unlimited time to share music or play games and have fun? Yeah, let's do that. So that kind of led into doing a complete the Broadway lyric game. I said, this is how we're going to spend our longest day together.
That's great.
And so I picked out, and I did it challenging for a purpose, and knowing that I could give hints and that we'd have fun with it, you know, in a way that wasn't frustrating. But picking out like the middles of songs, like the bridges, and leaving out words, you know, for example, if I am dancing, roll up the floor. If I am, whisk me out the door. And that is so hard to come up with, the middle. Sometimes I'll just read it, too, without even putting a tune
What
to
is
it.
that from? 10 minutes ago? 10 minutes ago? If I am dancing, da, 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 da. I know that song.
Oh, see?
This should be the trivia question today.
If I am,
Whistle a happy tune.
no,
Oh.
whistling, whisk me out the door, I'm getting.
Married in the morning.
Yeah, you got it.
Ding dong. Okay, you got me going. We'll be singing.
We'll be doing it all right.
Right.
So, but they get it. They get almost every single one, and I'm thinking they're obscure. You know, I feel the room, and the band's playing, swaying.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I can't ask them what they had for lunch. They don't know the time of day, and they can pull out these. They're just so part of their joy, of their life, of their comfort. These song lyrics. So,
can I mention that where you and I are going to be speaking together
Please do,
at Artist
yeah.
Senior Living, and I was in there to test out, make sure that I'm only going to show two things, and that those clips I told you about. And I was in there, and there were about 5 or 6 people with memory care disorders. I don't know what the technical term would be, and they were smiling, and I did, and I'm going to use this. Oh, give me land, lots of land. Don't fence me in, which Cole Porter wrote, which no one knows.
Actually, I did not know
it's
that.
It's a cowboy song,
Yeah.
right? So they were singing and they were smiling, and Megan was with me at the time, and I said, "Oh, this is why it's not my normal environment where I do it. You are more suited to that and what you do." But I saw even them reacting, and it actually brought tears to my eyes that day. So yeah,
So we are going to be speaking next Wednesday
I think.
at 2:00.
No, I think it's 1.
1 o'clock. Okay,
I turned my phone off, so I can't look. But it's I think it's 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock at Artis, which is a new memory care center here in Boca.
Yes.
And we're kind of combining forces, talking about your eldercation experience program, the responses you see, and why you're seeing that. You know, kind of the science behind that.
Can I just mention this is when we were in Panera that day. So when I watch "Oh, What a Beautiful Morning" or All of You, and I watch Sid Charisse and Fred Astaire dancing, and I get chills when I'm watching those videos, and I know they are too because I ask them. And Bree is able to tell me exactly what's happening to my body, right? You told me.
Yeah.
That's fascinating to me.
Do you remember what I said?
Endorphins. Yeah. See, not only do I learn, but I remember what I learned.
You're doing great.
It's endorphins.
Yep.
And I was also fascinated with the fact that I definitely do turn down the radio when I'm in the car and I'm trying to find a direction.
Yeah.
So you are
Isn't it nice
smart.
when science validates what we're already doing?
Yes.
Yeah, it's so great.
Yeah.
Except for the study that said that our
No,
musical
that's
tastes
not
make us
obviously old quack
horrible
did that,
people.
yeah.
Yep, it's fine. Okay, so eldercation, your mission statement, I just want to reinstate this: to inspire people to engage seniors on a more consistent basis and in a more meaningful way.
That's right.
It's amazing. How do you see that after you go in and do a program? Are you able to observe either professional or personal caregivers, interacting in a new way, or do they follow up with you as far as the impact of that?
You know what? You've brought up a very interesting question. I'm generally speaking now to the seniors themselves, but when I was living in Vero Beach for a while, I spoke to 150 doctors for the Treasure Coast Medical, and I didn't know how that night was going to go. And this is the kind of thing that happens at the end of the talk, because when I do the gold book about the presentation about my book, and I show videos of some of the interviews, do you know at least half of the audience, 75 doctors, come up to me and they're saying to me, "Oh my God, Harry, you need to speak to us once every 2 weeks or once every month, because they start to lose it. They start to there's that attitude. I'm going to say it, and I'm not shy about saying it. It's like, you're old. Come on, well, you complaining you're going to die soon anyway.
Compassion fatigue. When you're
That's
faced
what
with
it's called.
Yeah.
Okay. He said, but when you told us, and not that I'm not doing anything that anybody in the positive aging movement. That's why I support anybody who does this. The ability, there's someone on who has a book of people. It's kind of what I did with these My Long Story Short videos, where you see somebody who's, young, if they see it on the, that's the woman young and that's the woman old. You have to remember that these people were like us at one point. They were actually children at one point. They were middle-aged at one point. And
sometimes when we meet them, they are in a childlike state. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. So I get to see people. I want to speak to younger audiences more, because I definitely want to. I don't know. I don't have children of my own, so I don't know what a 20-year-old thinks of a 75-year-old, really. That, if I had all the money in the world, that would be my next book, actually.
I think that's great. I mean, intergenerational connection is so important. It's only becoming more and more important as our elders are living longer. I mean, that used to be kind of a rare thing, I think, for the sandwich generation to be caring for their kids. And it's everybody now, and that everybody's sometimes in the same home and taking care. I know my mom, my grandma, my parents, that's our intergenerational connection. I think it's more common now than ever before.
We're not going to have time to do this today, but I use a line all the time. First of all, the average lifespan in the year 1900, you guess? I think we talked about this. You know what it was in this country? It was 47.3. The average lifespan now is about 79.3. But it's older for people with means or whatever. So on the average, people are living 30 years longer than they've ever lived since 1900. So in a very real way, people are outliving their money. People are outliving their friends. And this sounds terrible in a way, but in many ways, people are outliving their minds. It's nothing that our culture, we're having like a culture shock in a way now.
Yeah.
So we have to, and the baby boomers are going to come to grips with it. In the meantime, it's my joy. I love spending time with senior citizens, so it's a match. It works out really, really well. I love listening to them talk about their lives. I learn so much from them, and they learn from me too. How to use Facebook.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm doing them a favor with that, incidentally.
No, technology it's a great tool that we can share too. Oh my gosh, my ability to pull up things on YouTube and plug it into the TV for when I can't reproduce what a 70-piece brass band sounds like. I mean, it's really important. I just want to quickly. I know we could talk for hours.
I'll come back.
Please do. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. We're going to go to our last commercial break. But before we do, I want to let you know we're going to be having a little fun in our last segment. And Harry's been kind enough to give one of his books away to a lucky winner. Is going to call in with the answer to our trivia question. So 888-565-1470. We have a question for you after this quick break.
Mom's fall was a wake-up call. We knew she needed help, but we also knew she'd never leave her home.
With jobs and kids, we can't always be there. We weren't sure who to trust to help around the house and make sure she takes her medications.
We did our research and found our answer. Bright Star Care. Their home care teams are led by registered nurses, with help available 24/7.
Thanks to Bright Star Care, Mom can stay where she wants to be, at home.
For a standard of care that raises the bar, call 844 for Bright Star.
The Palm Beach Music Therapy Institute is a professional music therapy practice serving medical, community, and educational settings throughout Southeast Florida. With our experienced team of 11 board-certified music therapists, we use music and research-based therapeutic interventions to help individuals of all ages and abilities reach their goals and increase their quality of life. For more information on our services and programs, please visit our website at pbmti.com. Engage with us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, or call us at 561-747-9944. You are listening to Palm Beach Music Therapy Connections. If you'd like to join the conversation, the toll-free number is 888-565-1470. Now back to the show. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. You're listening to and watching Palm Beach Music Therapy Connections. I'm your host, Bree Beynon. I have my guest tonight, Harry Getzoff. He's been talking about his background with music, his dad's career with music, how it's found its way back into his life today. But in the meantime, he found himself writing a book. And so have you hold up your book one more time, Harry? Give us
Sure,
the
I can
title
do
one more
that.
time. Gold, the extraordinary side of aging revealed through inspiring conversations. And again, you can find that at Amazon.
Amazon.com
Okay.
or the website, but Amazon is the best way to get it. Yeah.
And
Thank
this
you.
one is extra special because you have signed the
Yes.
inside of it, which
Yes,
is
for a
awesome.
lucky
Thank you.
guest.
For a lucky caller in. So 888-565-1470. Since the theme of your program is the American songwriter, our trivia tonight is we're going to share a song. And the first person to call in with the name of the songwriter will win this book. So if you call in with the correct answer, hang on the line. We're going to get your address and you will get a copy of this book. So it's a little bit tricky. Here we go. When you're down and troubled and you need a helping hand and nothing, no, nothing is going right. Close your eyes and think of me, and soon I will be there to brighten up even your darkest night. You just call out my name, and you know wherever I am, I'll come running to see you again. Winter, spring, summer, or fall, darling, all you got to do is call, and I'll be there, yes I will. You got a friend, you got a friend, you got a friend. Ooh, and we do have a caller. Hello, are you there? Caller?
Yes, who it is? It's your mother.
Oh,
does that
Mom.
count? Does that count?
No.
I don't. Sorry, it doesn't sound familiar. All right, Mom, you taught me this, so you should know the answer.
Well, I hope it's Carole King.
Yes.
It is.
Ding,
Very,
ding,
very
ding,
good.
ding, ding, ding.
You are the proud winner, Miss
Okay,
Jan
I
Gordon.
think you know my address.
I do know your address.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So entertaining, Harry. I really like listening to you. I can't wait to read the book.
Thank
I
you.
agree with you on so many things you're saying.
Yeah, well, you have one talented and very bright daughter, and I love what she's doing with the music therapy and everything. I mean, I think this is important work. You know that, so.
And like you said, she gets as much out of it, as they do, if not more sometimes.
That's the key.
Absolutely.
That's the key. And we thought that the caller was going to say James Taylor, but you're too smart for that.
I know.
Oh, heck no.
Yeah. I
Not
know.
that he isn't a wonderful writer.
Yeah, I know.
Right. All right. Beautiful job, Mom. Proud of you.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thanks, Mama.
I wanted to do the second
Bye-bye,
stanza,
honey.
but you're not going to do it.
We
We
have
don't
3
time.
minutes if you want to do it.
Let's do it.
All right,
Let's
we're
do
going to
it.
keep it going. If the sky,
If the sky above you
should turn dark and full of clouds, and that old north wind should begin to blow, hold your hands together and call my name out loud, and soon you'll hear me knocking upon your door. You just call out my name, and you know wherever I am, I'll come running to see you again. Winter, spring, summer, or fall, darling, all you got to do is call, and I'll be there, yes I will. You've got a friend, you've got a friend. one more time, your website, how people can get in touch with you, Harry.
The best way to get in touch with me is www.eldercation.com. ELDERCATION.com.
Beautiful. And the book is available at Amazon.
Yes. It's just look up Gold Getzov, Getzov, and you'll find it.
And you will find us at Artists next Wednesday, sometimes between 1 and 2.
I'd say 1 is a good
Okay.
bet. If we start at 2 and you get there in 1, they'll have some food, I'm sure.
It'll be great. Yeah, it'll be wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank
Absolutely. Had a lot of fun and look forward to continuing the conversation next week. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Have a wonderful week. We'll see you next week. To Palm Beach Music Therapy Connections. We hope you enjoyed today's program and discovered new ways to bring music, art, and dance into your home or workplace. Please find a copy of today's show at pbmti.com. If you have any questions for our guest or myself, please email me at Bree, that's BREE, at pbmti.com, or call the Palm Beach Music Therapy Institute at 561-747-9944. Tune back in next week for an all-new live show. See you then.
The opinions expressed